Hello again, everybody. The Valium has worked its way mostly out of my system, I believe. Um, I technically could take another dose right now, but due to the fact that I'm not shaking uncontrollably and I really don't like it, I am holding off so I can record something other than an update on how much my life sucks. And what I want to talk about for this daily December, to get me caught up a little bit, um, is uh, myth busting type shows. Now, I'm not actually talking about Mythbusters, mostly because it's not. It's a different type of show. I'm actually talking about um, things where, like the big example I'm going to use is the show Adam Ruins Everything, um, which is rife with straw man arguments and just misinformation, simply designed so that he can prove something that we think is completely normal is wrong. Um, now, Snopes and other things like that actually sits there and researches things and actually goes, okay, well, this is fake because of this, and this is real because of this. And something that started becoming more popular as the internet became more widely available, was actually doing research and things like that, and disproving old wives' tales and things like that, because the scientific community had actually done a lot of the work for it, and now we could just disseminate that information. Well, cut forward to now with shows like Adam Ruins Everything, or those like list things like top 5 myths about the entertainment industry, or top 27 myths about blah blah or blah blah. They're all misinformation and straw man arguments specifically designed to shock people into thinking that these are incredibly intelligent things. And the thing that I'm going to use to kind of exemplify this, I don't generally watch a whole lot of Adam Ruins Everything because over and over and over again, it's just a bunch of strawman arguments and misinformation. But I've watched a couple of episodes because a lot of people recommended it to me because they're like, oh my God, I had no idea this was going on and blah, 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 blah. So the one specifically I'm going to talk about is called Why You Don't Need 8 Glasses of Water a Day. So in College Humor for me, the whole channel is kind of hit or miss. Some of their stuff is really funny. A lot of their stuff is very polarized and political, and just doesn't quite hit the mark of satire as much as it does just plain like propaganda style things. But every so often there's some good stuff on there. Adam Ruins Everything is not one of them. This particular one was published back at the end of August this year, and it talks about how we don't need anywhere near as much water as, well, according to the video, as marketing companies and soft drink companies tell us that we do, which there is some truth to that. Um, Due to the fact that I'm currently studying marketing, I plan on going into marketing if I can, and if the rest of this stuff doesn't mess me up so bad I can never work again. But that's beside the point. Marketing is a big part of my life. I spent about 5 years in sales. 4 of those was actually in sales management. I used to train salesmen. I've studied marketing techniques. I've studied sales techniques and things like that. It is a very big part of my life, and one of the most difficult aspects about being a salesman in this day and age is how much people think salesmen lie to get the sale, which isn't true. They've actually done studies by major groups, and they've actually been able to show that salesmen are generally the most honest and most trustworthy people in a store, simply because they have to deal with their lies immediately. The people with the highest likelihood of being dishonest are actually managers, because they have a better chance of being able to hide their lies beneath paperwork and being able to cover up stuff just because they have more authority. So everyone, and I can't tell you how many times this happened to me in retail, where they would take my word over the word of one of my salesmen that I have trained. Statistics actually would tell you to take the word of the salesman over the word of the manager. So little thing there. But yeah, so this idea that marketing in general is designed to deceive and lie to you is wrong. Are there some marketing campaigns that are deceitful? Yes. And are there marketing campaigns that make things sound more useful or more needed than they actually are? Yes. The goal of marketing in general is to get you to buy a product. And sometimes some marketing people will take that to mean let's stretch the truth because our only goal is to sell as many of this product as possible. I've worked for companies like that. They don't actually last long. The ones that do last long are the ones that find a need and find a way to fill it in a creative way. And that's what marketing is. So they start off by talking. The video itself is about a little under 6 minutes. And it's completely bogus. It follows the same pattern that he will do in all of his videos, where he will have himself talking about this massive thing, then people have pulled the wool over your eyes, and then he will have someone that will attempt to defend it, and by defend it, they will act like a complete and utter moron. The people that and they're actors, they're not like, they don't really believe this, but they're written so poorly and they're written to be so stupid that they could never actually exist in the real world. But that's the whole point of it, because it's supposed to be like satire and funny, and it's supposed to grab your attention, and it's just complete bollocks. So he talks about how you don't need 8 glasses of water a day, and he goes through a bunch of different things, and I'm not going to like point for point argue everything that he has on there, because again, there are some things that are actually factual that he twists, and it's just not really worth going through every single one of them. The ones that I do want to talk about are, let's see, hyponatremia. He talks about, I think it's called exercise-induced hyponatremia. And he says, basically, this is what happens when people that are exercising drink too much water, which technically is true. He also compares it to overhydration. He says hypernatremia, overhydration. He uses them almost interchangeably, and they're not. And he tries to use this to prove that we are told that we need much more water than we actually do. The actual fact of the matter is the body itself is somewhere between like 60 to 70% water. All of the major chemical reactions that happen inside your body are water soluble, meaning they have to happen in water. So if you dehydrate yourself or you don't drink enough water, it causes a lot more problems than just being a little bit of faint. You won't be able to sleep as deeply. When you do sleep, you won't be able to recharge because the creation of energy and stuff like that, all that stuff happens in water. And if there's not enough water in your body to do that, then it doesn't work. There's also water in your bloodstream. That's what makes it liquid, along with a crap ton of other things. I mean, it's just that water is so important. And so he talks about something like 12 athletes died from exercise-induced hyponatremia. But he never actually tells you what hypernatremia is. Or not hypo. For those of you that are not familiar with Latin-based prefixes, there are 2 very important prefixes that are used in chemistry a ton. And because they're used in chemistry, they're also used in the medical world a ton. You have hyper and hypo. Hyper means an overabundance. Hypertension, too much tension. A hyper, I can't remember. Basically, anytime you hear the word hyper, that means they're talking about too much. Oversaturation. Hypersaturize, yeah. Anyway, hyper means too much. Hypo is the exact opposite. It means too little. So, Adam Ruins Everything talks about hyponatremia and says that that's over hydration. That's not what it is. Hypo, again, means under, Overhydration, it would sound more like hypernatremia if overhydration is what it is. And the other half of the word is what actually tells you what it is. Hyper or hyponatremia. Natremia has to do with sodium. For those of you who don't know, sodium, the chemical symbol for it is Na. So anything dealing with like Na in general, when you're talking about chemistry and elements and things like that, it's going to have something to do with sodium. So hyponatremia is low sodium. Basically low salt levels in your blood. We need sodium for a lot of different functions of the body. So hyponatremia is low sodium, and one of the ways you can get that, specifically low sodium in your blood, one of the ways you can get that is by exercising a lot, because when you exercise you sweat, and sweat not only gets rid of water in your body, but it also gets rid of salts. And so when you sweat a lot, the salt level in your body actually goes down along with the water level, because both of those are being excreted through your pores. So if you replace that water without replacing the salt, you start lowering the overall salt level in your blood. And if you do it enough, you get what's called hyponatremia, which can be very dangerous and sometimes deadly. The fact that 12 athletes were killed by exercise-induced hyponatremia is a fact, and like I said, that's one of the problems I have with stuff like this, is because they use real facts to spread misinformation. One of the things he talks about earlier is they talk about marketing and how soft drink companies and companies that sell water will try and tell you need more water than you actually do, just so they can make an extra buck, which is a lie. And they also mention things like Gatorade, because Gatorade is actually not the healthiest thing in the world. For those of you who don't know, Gatorade is basically water, sugar, and electrolytes. Electrolytes are salts. Gatorade is specifically designed and it's technically marketed for athletes while they're working out. When they're getting rid of their salt because they're sweating a lot, they're supposed to drink the Gatorade to replace their electrolytes, to replace their salts, to avoid hyponatremia. Your average person that's just walking around and not working out heavily doesn't actually need to drink Gatorade at all. It's not the healthiest thing if you don't actually need those things. The sugar in there is to give you bursts of energy that when you're exercising, they're gone very, very quickly. However, sugar turns into fat very quickly if you're not using that energy. So it turns into fat. The additional salt can actually give you hypernatremia, too much salt, and high sodium levels can lead to a lot of different bad things for you, so that doesn't help. Then the water itself is technically, water is good for you, but you have those other two things in there that are basically making it worthless. If you look at advertisements and things for Gatorade or Powerade and those other, sports drink type things, they always show people exercising and doing very athletic things, because that's the market that they're targeting, because they do have a good product for that. Now, if you listen to, Adam Room's Everything, he just talks about how, people really shouldn't be drinking sports drink at all and how unhealthy they are, which again is only true to a point. And then he talks about the hyponatremia and says that, drinking water while you're exercising is this horrible, disgusting thing, when in all actuality, the hyponatremia could actually be solved by just having them drink a Gatorade versus water. Now, this is a lot more complicated than I really have time to go into, because he does talk about things like you actually, as you start exercising and things like that, your body kind of goes into water, saving mode and things like that. And so there's a lot more chemical going on. But the basics of it is he tries to prove that water is not that necessary, simply by going, well, hyponatremia, it's proof. And then he tries to twist that into saying, well, it's because these marketing people. And he does that by using, I think she's called an exercisologist or something like that. It is a term I've never heard before. It has exercise in it. I didn't watch the whole video again. I watched it once, and that was enough for me. But he has this woman come in, and she goes, yeah, you don't actually need it. And then she goes, we think no study, there's no science or anything to back this up. She's just decided, I think, and so do other people that she doesn't name, which is another thing. I've talked about critical thinking before. It's another thing that if people start going, well, I think and other people think too, you really need to go, who are these other people? You're trying to create legitimacy for yourself by claiming there are other people that agree with you, but you can't actually provide those people or any way to check. You could be making it all up. And generally, in a situation like this, if there's actual science behind it, they're not going to go, I think. They're going to go, well, studies have shown that this and this and this and this, and there's this. So this has nothing to do with science. This is just a random woman that has a very bizarre degree talking about, well, I think it's because marketing is evil. And so I'm going to say you only need to drink water if you're thirsty, which doesn't actually work because there are a lot of reasons you might be thirsty. Diabetics in general, one of the signs of diabetes is you are always thirsty. So if a diabetic is constantly drinking water because he's thirsty, you're going to run into that hyponatremia that you're so terrified of because he's diluting the salt in his bloodstream. And there's a billion different other things. So yeah, like I personally despise, like I cannot watch Adam Ruins Everything because, again, there's so much misinformation it hurts. And I've tried watching other ones. It's like, top 5 myths of this. And I just can't because it's straw man argument versus misinformation versus, and it's just horrible. So, yes, please stop watching Adam Ruins Everything because the only thing he's ruining is people's critical thinking skills. Really is. It's really, really bad. And just because he delivers it in kind of a jaunty, condescending manner doesn't make it actually true. Yeah, so that's my little rant. This is, I think, the longest video I've made for Daily December, mostly because most of December I've been screwed. So, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions or anything, comments and all that stuff. Otherwise, I'm going to get some rest. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.